Hello, everybody. We are back. This is episode 3 of Enter In, and today's really special for me because I have sitting next to me someone that is always with me during these shootings, but you never see him because he's behind the camera. But I asked him if he would grace us with his presence. This is Damon Jones, everybody. And he has become, seriously, God gave me a brother. What you all don't know is that I used to, as a kid, I always wanted a brother. I always wanted a brother. I had a little sister, but I wanted a guy brother in my life. And guess what? God is just perfectly on time because he sent me my brother. And it's in the person of Damon. And it's just a blessing that we've gotten to know each other. You know, it was one of those divine things. You know how God does, boy, it was one of those divine things. And so we are friends today. He has a wonderful wife who I've had the pleasure of meeting and celebrating her birthday. I got to go to her birthday party. And he's just, I don't know, it's like he's almost always been there, but he just got here. But it seems like he's always been here. But he has a testimony. You know, this is Enter In, and it's all about people coming to share something that they've overcome, something that they've gone through, so that it can be an encouragement to you. All right? I find I get a lot of strength when I hear someone else share what they've gone through and how they've come through, and I can grab onto that and gain strength from it to make it, you know, another day, another week, another month, another year. All right, so I have my brother, and I kind of know. Usually, I don't know exactly what people are going to share, but today I kind of have an idea what he's going to talk about. You know, some things. So I have my little notes here because I didn't want to forget anything. I wrote things down. I didn't want to forget. All right, so he knows how this goes. It's very casual. You know, I don't like formal things. We are out here at this lovely park today. It's a beautiful LA, California day. For those of you who don't live here, you might want to reconsider. Because it's just gorgeous today. It's a beautiful day. But anyway, I'm going to give this over to him. I do have a couple of questions. We're going to start. And I don't know, this might have to be a 3-parter. Because his life is just so rich. I mean, you just have no idea who I'm sitting next to here. The guy that you're looking at today is certainly not the guy, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
How far back can we go?
Within the last few years.
Within the last few years.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So when he told me, because I know some of the story already, and when he told me, I look at him, I'm like, there's just no way. There's just, like, did you know he used to be shy? There's just no way I would have ever believed that. But I believe it now because, you know, we all have somewhere where we came from. We all have a beginning. We all have a past, right? Okay? So he's going to share a little bit with us. We're going to just talk about where he grew up, where he was born. He was born in the South. He was born in Texas. Is it true they have really good ribs in Texas?
She'll know.
I heard them ribs is pretty good. So let's talk about that. Talk about growing up in Texas, you know, what your life was like there as a kid. And then you moved here with your mom, I believe,
right.
still at an early age and began your growing here. But let's just start with Texas.
Okay.
Everything's big in Texas.
Yeah, that's what they say. This is definitely different. But I think this is most definitely something that's God inspired because it's just time to share testimony.
Okay.
Born in Texas. I was born in Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock.
So, you know, my mother, she came to California, just to keep things simple and plain, I had an abusive father. But at the same time, I don't have any hatred towards him or anything like that. But it's just the fact that growing up without a father, no disrespect to my mom, nothing but love and respect for her and all women because of her. I had a wonderful childhood in Texas. She came to California, and and she came up here to get started. I mean, she's the ultimate entrepreneur in herself, you know. So I just say she stepped out and came up here, didn't know anybody, and just struck out on her own because she had to get away and start over, you know.
So she's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, she came from nothing and got a job at Rouse, and ultimately still, you know, supported her family, supported 3 kids, you know, nobody helping her out. So I got a lot of inspiration from her. But, you know, my grandmother helped raise us in Texas, and I had a lot of cousins I grew up with. You know, we had a great time as kids. And, you know, like you said, I was a very shy kid. A lot of people wouldn't know that now, but it's because of the Spirit of God that's come upon me, because of the purpose that I have for my life. I can help many more people through what He's allowing me to do. But I'm just thankful. So, but growing up in Texas, it was great. But after we go back and forth to Texas, but we ended up in Compton. My mother ended up buying a house in Compton.
Now, how old were you when you moved?
Probably, if I recall, 3rd grade.
3rd grade. Is that when you took those pictures? Those headshots and things?
I'm not sure what age
that happen in
that
Texas,
was.
or did that happen in
happened up
LA?
here in LA. My mother, she, people were saying that I guess I should get into the commercials.
Show business, yes.
But then when I got in front of the camera, they said, do some acting, and I just froze.
You went,
so,
deer in the headlights, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I just look at that as, you know, that wasn't a time where that wasn't the thing for me, you know. But my mother, she, you know, wanted to give that a try, and I was like, okay. But I look back, and I have the fondest memories just of childhood, just in general. But growing up in Compton, going back and forth from Texas to Compton, you know, my grandmother helped out a lot, like I said. My mother, she was up here doing the best she could, you know, working and doing her thing. And it was just a lot of idle time for me. I used to oil paint, got into drawing and everything like that. Another thing that God blessed me with, I just started oil painting. Just the creative side of me started to come out. But in elementary in Compton, that's when it really started, as far as being that underdog, being the one that's picked on. A lot of people can relate to that. But today, now I realize why God allowed those things, because now, me being an entrepreneur, just being a man of God, stepping out on faith, I don't need to look to any people or group of people to justify what I know I need to do in my spirit. You know, I feel the fear, but I do it anyway because I know God is with me. You know, simple but not easy, I get it. But I'm just at a point in my life where I make things happen according to what God purpose is. It sounds simple, which it is, but I'm just tired. I just said, you know what, it's just time to start living to what God wants me to do. Growing up in Compton, elementary was, like I said, it was kind of traumatic if I think about it.
Were you bullied?
I was bullied.
Aww.
Bullied, called big head and all these other things. Big head, let me see, Pinocchio head. They said, you know, you lie, your head, instead of your nose growing, your forehead grow bigger, you know, stuff like that. So stuff like
mean
that.
Things.
Seemed like I would have needed therapy by now, but
you made it through. Those are the dog years,
you know?
Right?
But you know, I believe God allowed that because it made me who I am now. It sounds, a lot of people that would listen to this, they would be like, well, why would He allow that? I said, well, I don't have any ill regard towards God. I just thank Him for allowing me to go through it so that I could be an individual versus somebody that need to lean on somebody for approval and co-signing. Would you do it? Well, if you don't do it, I won't do it, type of thing. And that was proven when I got ready to go in the Air Force. The gentleman I used to hang around with, you know, he was older than me, so I looked up to him. And we joined on the buddy program, which means if you sign up together, you could leave and go to the Air Force at the same time. A lot of times God doesn't allow you to see what happens with someone after the fact, but come to find out, we were getting ready to go in the military, and he got caught doing a hit and run. He hit a car and he kept going, and he ended up with a felony. So with that, he got, you know, basically they disqualified him for the Air Force. So he assumed that I was not going to go because of that fact. But for some reason, normally I would just quit things. I didn't. I just wanted to get away. I know I had to get away.
Now,
so,
what made you want to get away?
I wanted to show my mother how much I appreciated what she's done. You know, so I know I needed to get away in order to appreciate life. I didn't know what that looked like. Believe me, I was more of a male, and like I said, a male versus a man. A male has the body parts, but a man steps up and does what he needs to do.
That's right.
But God had to deal with me on that, because how do you know how to become a man if nobody ever taught you how to become a man? The world teaches us one way, but there's the real way that God wants you to be. You got to be a good steward over your household, your family, or anybody that's under your care, you know. And people always say there's a good woman behind a man. I said, what's she doing back there? I said, she came out of the side of man. I said, you know, to cover her, protect her, you know. And I was like, the world, everything is just twisted up in the wrong way. But as far as the gentleman that I grew up with, God allowed me to see a couple years ago through somebody else we grew up with that he's like, did you hear about such and such? I said, no. He said, Google his name. I said, Google him. I said, whenever somebody say Google somebody's name, that's a problem. So I Googled his name, and he was at the first line. It said, security guard murdered his boss in Marina Del Rey. So then I read the story. Come to find out, he basically took his girlfriend to work the night before, and his supervisor said, no, you can't bring your girlfriend to work. That's pretty much all that was.
That was it?
Then the next night, his supervisor was on patrol. He actually executed his boss in the parking lot.
Oh,
so this is the guy I used to hang around with and do a lot of dirt with. And God allowed me to see that, say, hey, if you'd have kept down that same road, you know, that would have been you as well.
The search is on tonight for the person who gunned down an apartment complex security guard in Marina Del Rey.
Deputies, careful what they say.
I will say that it was directed at the victim.
When it comes to the investigation surrounding the shooting death of a security guard named at this upscale apartment complex in Marina Del Rey. The victim's body was found in a pool of blood 2:45 this morning after residents reportedly heard 3 shots.
He was subsequently pronounced dead at the scene.
In the meantime, deputies are tonight looking for an adult black male seen wearing a hooded sweatshirt, last seen running from the scene here. They ask tonight if you have any information to call deputies.
Did you see anything pertaining to that part of his nature, his character, when you were friends before that?
I did.
Did you get a little hint?
I did, because I was going down the same road. So
there was a little bit of that, not that you would go that far, but so you guys were hanging together. You knew he was a little shaky, shifty, shady.
Right, and we
already. Okay,
you know,
it was not a surprise.
No, I was the same way in that regard, because we would go to the store, you know, buy eggs and throw eggs at people, get wrist rockets, you know, with the ball bearings, and shooting birds and doing all this craziness. You know, stuff that you really don't. You think is cruel and harsh, and you know now walking. You know, I always speak of God because He's the foundation of what I do and everything of who I am. However, we all have a past, and now I'm at this point in my life where my story can help somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a point where we're going to get to where I became a poser or wannabe. You know what I mean? Didn't realize what that meant.
Yeah.
You know, I became that guy when I got in the military. I thought I was, you know, going to change. Didn't realize that.
Change to what?
You know, I was going to change for the better, you know, more discipline and so forth. But my mindset, it just wasn't there, because I was always an angry kid. And then I became an angry young man. So, kind of funny is that when I got in the military, I was actually a security police, basically a military policeman. So, I'm 18 years old, right? And I get in trouble up in Victorville for drinking underage while on duty with a weapon. So basically, I had a DUI in the military. So I say this openly because this is just real talk, because a lot of people need to hear that you make mistakes. But I, at the time, like I said, I wasn't saved, but I made it on my mother's and my grandmother's prayers. So at the time, I'm thinking I'm Teflon Don. Nobody can touch me, you know, not realizing that my wife always says, you know, God takes care of babies and fools. I'm always like, He took care of this baby, you know. But she wants to lean towards the fool part. But now I realize, yes, I was a fool. So I kept getting in trouble. But long story short, my own co-workers basically had to arrest me. But anybody else was getting kicked out of the military for the smallest things.
Wait. Back that up. Your co-workers had to what?
They had to arrest me.
They arrested you?
Yes, while I was on duty. This was back in 1988.
Wow. That's something.
So I shouldn't even have been able to continue in the military. I ended up serving 9 years, but in the military, not in jail. But getting that DUI, I should have gotten kicked out. I lost the stripe, but then I got the stripe back. But for me, that was my first experience with alcohol prior to that, because I started drinking like 8 hours prior, and you know, and I didn't know about, you know, I laid down and woke up, and you know, I take full responsibility now, but then I would blame everybody else. But long story short, I was like, I got out of that, and I was like, they can't touch me. So I kept getting in trouble, and it was always disrespect towards authority because of the anger that I had.
Now let's go back just a little bit. You had the anger as a child.
Yes.
So, as far back as you can remember, what, 3 years old, 4, 5 years old? Do you remember back that far?
Well, I can always remember that my mother used to always tell me that I would always get angry quickly. I would play with Lego blocks and things like that. If stuff didn't work out right, I'd throw stuff against the wall. And, you know, but now being a man, I understand now is because I didn't have nobody teaching me how to become a man, you know. And like I said, I always say, my mother did the best. She did an awesome job. No disrespect to her, but she knows, you know, that she did what she could. But
yeah, you know, I teach acting, right?
Right.
And the type of acting that I teach teaches you to go inside and to take off the lids and the covers that keep you from really being able to tell the truth about pretty much how you feel about things, you know. And usually students can start off, the easiest emotion that they can get to is the anger.
Right.
So they're angry, angry, angry. But why are they angry? It's usually covering pain.
Right.
And that's the thing people don't want to touch because it's painful. It's easier to launch out with the anger. So when I talk to you and you tell me you were angry, 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 even as a little kid, somewhere, you know, I mean, different kids deal with things differently, but anger covering pain.
Right.
What do you think, where did the pain come from?
God revealed after years of, until I got saved, I didn't know where the root of the anger came from. But then I asked God to reveal that. When I had my other real estate company back in '08 when the market dropped, my mother wanted to go to Texas, you know, to visit her brother. So I took that as an opportunity, you know, take some time off, get my head clear. But while I was down there, Sweetwater, Texas, Sweetwater.
Sweetwater, Texas.
Yes, that was. I mean, I had a lot of great fond memories, a lot of great cousins there. I know y'all be watching this, but you know, nothing but love.
That's right.
Got nothing but love for
No, baby. Got nothing but love for you, sugar.
But while I was there, I asked. I said, "Where's my father buried?" You know. So out in the 100-something degree heat, for some reason, I needed to find his grave. So I didn't know why I needed to find his grave.
That southern heat too is enough to just take you out. So if you were determined in that heat to go find his grave, something was really driving you.
There was a reason why I had to find it, because as soon as we located, I mean, it was a small little plaque under some bushes and everywhere. You know, after a little while, I said, you know, found him, you know. So, but for some reason, I asked my mom, can you give me a minute? I just want to be alone for a second. So what I did at that moment, I dropped to my knees and I prayed for him. Even though he had never wanted to have anything to do with me. I even tried to call him a couple times on the phone as a grown man, and he wouldn't get on the phone. He was with his new family, but you know, before I was saved, I didn't understand. So the hurt and the pain deep within.
There you
know,
go.
so
it's that rejection.
So when I prayed for him, the main thing I prayed for is I prayed that he accepted Christ before he passed, because he had such an anger issue himself, because he had someone probably in the past, maybe he didn't know how to become that man. So I had to let him go. Then I had to forgive myself.
Okay.
So that I could start to heal.
Forgive yourself for just the repercussions of that anger and all
and
that
everybody
stuff.
else that have had to withstand and endure, especially my wife. You know. So that anger, it's affected so many different things, you know. And when I was in the military, I became that wannabe, you know, that poser that people talk about. So in the military, people are like, oh, you from Compton? I'm like, yeah, I'm from Compton. You know, so I started walking into that role. So a lot of pictures that I show people, they think I'm back on the block. And I said, no, I'm not on the block. I said, I was in the military on the base.
Oh, man.
I said, so a lot of the pictures that people see, they're like, man, you was really down. I said, no, I said, I was a wannabe. I said, I've probably been the first one to run. You know, I said, but on the outside, I was this big buffed out dude. You know, now people wouldn't even think that, but I was hiding all of that from childhood, all of the low self-esteem, and loving the attention that I got when people were like, oh, that's just Big D, but I wouldn't let nobody in here. And when I accepted Christ, I realized I was just that lonely, soft little boy inside. And my wife found that out when we first got married.
So she didn't even know.
And I didn't even know, but God used her to bring that out of me, because I didn't even realize the type of person I was. But my love for her, God knew that I needed her in my life to help me to become the man that He needs me to be, to step out and be different, because He set me apart years ago. Now I recognize it. Yes, it's a lot of scary steps you got to take, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because the freedom that I'm experiencing is beautiful. But while I was in that lifestyle mindset, it was a destructive mindset. I served 9 years in the military, but I had another agenda. I wanted to get out and become a police officer. But because of that background that I had all this paperwork, negative paperwork in my my file, all disrespect towards authority and GUI and everything like that. But God allowed that, because if I'd have made the decision to move forward with other plans that I wanted to do, I got nothing but love for all police officers. But that wasn't for me. If I had got in it at that moment, it wouldn't have been good, because it wasn't what God wanted me to do. Okay. So I ended up working security for a couple of years, and then I started watching those no down payment courses on TV. You too can be a millionaire.
Oh,
send us
gosh,
$99.
Don't
forget the closed fist.
Ooh, and you wouldn't get anything.
No. But what it led me to was an ad in a paper. It says $1,000 down, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and I just got my $3,000 from taxes. So I called on an ad. The guy said, hey, you know what, that property's sold, but hey, have you thought about buying 4 units? I'm like, no, but tell me. I ain't got nothing to lose. And I was just eager. So at that point, I bought 4 units in Long Beach, 150 back in 97.
That's amazing.
Yeah, now these properties are through the roof.
Wow.
But just the fact, I quit my job probably 6 months after that, because I was making this gentleman so much money. He was like, stop making me money, you can get your license. But
so he told you to do that. Now that's really cool.
Yes.
Your boss told you to stop giving him, making money for him, and go out and make it for yourself.
Yeah, basically.
That's funny. I have a friend that said that any boss that doesn't help you do that is not the coolest boss.
Well, it was the guy that sold me the property. Yeah, so the guy that sold me the property got me into the business. After I made him so much money in a few months, he said, stop sending me clients.
Oh my gosh,
he said,
that's so nice.
Quit your job, and then you can start buying and flipping and doing all these other properties, So that was just the beginning of so many things. I thought that, making money was what it was all about. I hadn't even addressed the real issue inside. So all this money starts coming, I'm buying and flipping and doing all these other things. And I become Rookie of the Year with Century 21 and all these plaques and all this other stuff, but I was still empty. I would be in a room full of 200 people and still I'd feel alone. But I didn't know why. But the world, growing up as a young man, tell you that if you cry, if you do this, it's a weakness. But now I know in Christ it's a strength, because I stand alone, but I'm not alone.
That's good. Yes.
So that's what I love about now in life, because I just got tired of putting on a fake face. Take the mask off. I mean, that's where I am now, the transparency. Last year, I never knew what that word transparency was, because it meant revealing too much. Now, I don't even mind. I don't even mind.
Yeah.
So...
It's cool.
Hey, I'm just saying. You looking that way, I'm like, what's up?
I saw the ball coming this way, and I was like, okay, is it going to stop, or is it going to roll into the frame? And if it does, it does.
I'm just saying, a little bit of the background started to kick in.
Yeah.
You looking that way, I'm like this.
That's your hood coming out. Hey. Like, what's going on? Well, I need to, let's, this is really good. And I think right now, because I'm going to ask him, I want to know about his wife. And I've met her, and she is wonderful. And he mentioned her a little bit earlier, but I think I'm going to save that for episode 2. So we're going to say, see you later right now. And then we're going to come back and do another part. Because I thought maybe this would be a 3-parter. I don't know, it might be a 5-part, because this is so good. This is so interesting, and I'm so thankful, and thank you so much for sharing this. So we're going to put a pin there, and we're going to come back, and next week you're going to hear about his wonderful wife. Her Her name is Deborah. All right? So we're going to hear all about Deborah. And Deborah's my middle name. Hello, we have a Bible name. Deborah. Wasn't she a judge? Deborah, was she a judge in the Bible? She was doing something. She was busy.
Doing something there. It just kind of slips my mind.
She
right
was
now.
busy
Let me-
doing something. I think she was a
Let
judge.
me Google it.
You're gonna Google it? Okay. So we will see you next time. Okay. Bye bye. Thanks for coming to Enter In. We'll see you later. Bye bye.
Peace.